Day 1. Face 1. Ancient.
고대의 오래된
Ancient. Angkor Wat is an ancient temple complex at Angkor, Cambodia. Archive.
기록 보관소 보관하다
Archive. All official documents since 1846 are kept in the archives. Execute.
실행하다 사형을 집행하다
Execute. King Henry VIII executed his second wife, Anne Boleyn. Epidemic.
유행병 유행하는
Epidemic. A serious epidemic of influenza killed around 16 million people in 1918. Emancipate.
해방시키다
Emancipate. Abraham Lincoln is celebrated for his decision to emancipate the slaves. Artifact.
인공 유물
Artifact. Artifacts such as pottery and jewelry were uncovered at the ruins. Archaeology.
고고학
Archaeology. Athens, Greece is a dream destination for students of archaeology. Treasure.
보물 보물로 여기다
Treasure. The pirates are believed to have buried the treasure before their capture. Heir.
후계자 상속인
Heir. In the absence of a male heir, Queen Elizabeth I took the throne. Diaspora.
조국을 떠난 이주 이동
Diaspora. The Korean diaspora is present in dozens of countries on 6 continents. Agrarian.
농업에
Agrarian. The U.S. government instituted agrarian reform to encourage the growth of farms. Evolve.
진화하다 발달하다
Evolve. Charles Darwin held that species evolve through a process of natural selection. Nomadic.
유목에 방랑에
Nomadic. Humans in prehistory lived as nomadic hunters and gatherers. Medieval.
중세에
Medieval. Europe's medieval period lasted roughly from 500 AD to 1500 AD. Reign.
통치기간 통치하다
Reign. Louis XIV's reign of 72 years was the longest in European history. Excavate.
발굴하다 구멍을 파다
Excavate. King Tut's tomb was excavated by Howard Carter in the early 1920s. Despot.
폭군
Despot. The king, though much loved by his aides, ruled as a despot. Monarch.
군주
Monarch. Monarchs typically held absolute power. Their word was law. Restore.
복구하다 제도 따위를 부활시키다
Restore. Charles II restored the English monarchy in 1660, 2 years after Cromwell's death. Imperial.
제국의
Imperial. The imperial government ruled over 25 colonies around the world. Savage.
야만적인 야만인
Savage. The fighting during the 2-day Battle of Antietam was particularly savage. Ritual.
의식 의례적인
Ritual. The ritual of animal sacrifice was performed at the ancient Olympics. Holocaust.
대참사 대재앙
Holocaust. The Holocaust refers to the Nazis' killing of millions of Jews. Enslave.
노예로 만들다.
Enslave. It was ancient Roman custom to enslave enemy soldiers captured in battle. Kingship.
왕위.
Kingship. Kingship survives in many nations, though its role is largely ceremonial. Flourish.
번창하다. 잘 자라다.
Flourish. A 54-year period of peace allowed Afghan art to flourish. Invade.
침략하다. 침해하다.
Invade. Medieval Europeans feared that the Mongols would invade their homelands. Relic.
유물. 잔재.
Relic. Jeweled crowns and other relics are all that remain of the ancient civilization. Colonialism.
식민주의. 식민정책.
Colonialism. The Spanish-American War was the United States' first experiment in colonialism. Regent.
섭정.
Regent. The regent took control of the kingdom during the king's illness. Heritage.
유산.
Heritage. The flag's colors are evidence of the island nation's Portuguese heritage. Assassinate.
암살하다.
Assassinate. Ninjas were employed to assassinate high-ranking members of Japanese society. Immigrant.
이민자. 이주민.
Immigrant. Millions of Irish immigrants arrived in the U.S. in the late 1800s. Tyranny.
압제. 횡포.
Tyranny. The French Revolution was the people's response to the king's tyranny. Famine.
기근.
Famine. The failure of Ireland's potato crop resulted in a terrible famine. Immemorial.
먼 옛날부터의.
Immemorial. People have inhabited the Great Rift Valley from time immemorial. Exhibit.
진열하다. 전시하다.
Exhibit. The archaeologists hope to exhibit their finds in the British Museum. Destroy.
파괴하다. 훼손하다.
Destroy. Most of Berlin's transportation infrastructure was destroyed in World War II. Prosper.
번영하다. 번창하다.
Prosper. Early Venice prospered greatly from the trade in salt. Anachronism.
연대의 오기. 시대착오적 생각.
Anachronism. The historical drama was exciting but full of anachronisms. Phase 2. Scale.
규모. 크기.
The scale of the old palace is really enormous. Scale.
음계.
The student is practicing the C major scale. Scale.
비늘.
The fish's scales have a purplish color in the right light. Scale.
저울.
She weighed herself on the bathroom scale after exercise. Succeed.
성공하다.
Ben Davis succeeded thanks to the financial support of his investors. Succeed.
계승하다.
Richard I was succeeded by his brother John. Stick.
붙이다. 붙다.
Plaque sticks to teeth and can accelerate the process of decay. Stick.
찌르다.
Stick a fork into the meat to see if it is done. Stick.
막대기. 잔가지.
The child broke a stick off of the branch to play with. Phase 3. And the rest is history.
그리고 나머지는 역사가 되었다.
And the rest is history. Nelson Mandela entered the presidential race, and the rest is history. The jewel in the crown.
보석, 보석과 같은 최고의 것.
The jewel in the crown. The traveler said Prague was the jewel in the crown of Central Europe. A king's ransom.
엄청난 돈.
A king's ransom. The brand new sports car costs a king's ransom. The uncrowned king of.
무엇의 무관의 제왕, 여왕.
The uncrowned queen of. She is known as the uncrowned queen of women's tennis. The point of no return.
되돌릴 수 없는 단계.
The point of no return. Signing the document represents the point of no return. Phase 4. Come about.
우연히 생기다.
Come about. The tenant insists she does not know how the damage came about. Go about something.
문제 해결 등을 시작하다.
Go about something. The homeowners must decide how to go about paying for the repairs. Set about something.
적극적으로 무엇을 시작하다.
Set about something. He set about unpacking his suitcase after returning home. See about something.
일 등을 처리하다.
See about something. Her boss will see about awarding her a raise in pay. Bring something about.
무엇을 불러 일으키다.
Bring about something. It is hoped the tax credit will bring about increased home sales. Phase 5. Have a nap.
낮잠을 자다.
Have a nap. Professor Adams usually has a nap between his afternoon classes. Have a conversation.
대화를 나누다.
Have a conversation. His friends were having a conversation when he came in. Have room for.
무엇을 위한 공간이 있다. 무엇을 위한 여지가 있다.
Have room for. Unfortunately, the garage does not have room for more than one vehicle. Have a crush on.
누구를 짝사랑하다.
Have a crush on. The student had a big crush on her history teacher. Have a lot in common with.
무엇과 많은 공통점이 있다.
Have a lot in common with. Tibetan culture has a lot in common with that of North India. Have the nerve to do.
무엇할 만큼 뻔뻔하다.
Have the nerve to do. Tina had the nerve to request a second deadline extension. Have no intention of doing.
무엇할 의도가 없다.
Have no intention of doing. The police had no intention of investigating the case.
Day 2. Phase 1. Tenet.
교리, 주의.
Tenet. The idea of turning the other cheek represents a central tenet of Christianity. Ideology.
이데올로기, 이념.
Ideology. Communist ideology calls for the equal distribution of resources. Mission.
임무, 사명.
Mission. The church founded a mission to provide aid to local inhabitants. Doctrine.
교리, 신조.
Doctrine. The doctrine of rebirth is particularly important in Hinduism. Zealot.
광신도,
Zealot. Followers of an unfamiliar religion are sometimes seen as zealots. Priest.
사제, 신부,
Priest. Maria insisted on being married by a Catholic priest. Pew.
교회의 긴 좌석, 신도석,
Pew. The church's pews are at their fullest around Christmas. Afterlife.
사후 세계, 내세,
Afterlife. Heaven plays an important role in the Christian notion of the afterlife. Worship.
숭배하다, 숭배,
Worship. Churches offer people with similar beliefs the chance to worship together. Torture.
고문 행위, 고문하다,
Torture. Acts of torture are condemned by all the world's religions. Ordain.
성직자로 임명하다, 운명, 법률 등이 정하다,
Ordain. The priest was ordained at the unusually young age of 23. Faith.
믿음, 신앙,
Faith. Leaders of different faiths gather together for the ceremony. Humane.
인도적인, 인문하게,
Humane. Both humans and animals deserve to be treated in a humane fashion. Inquisition.
조사, 종교 재판,
Inquisition. Thousands were sentenced to death on religious grounds during the Spanish Inquisition. Pagan.
이교도의, 이교도,
Pagan. The ritual celebration is considered pagan by the Church. Orthodox.
정통의, 전통적인,
Orthodox. Only a small percentage of Muslims adhere to Orthodox beliefs. Persecute.
괴롭히다, 박해하다,
Persecute. Early Christians were persecuted and sometimes killed under the Roman Empire. Enthusiasm.
열정, 열의,
Enthusiasm. True believers perform their daily spiritual duties with enthusiasm. Ethical.
윤리적인, 도덕적인,
Ethical. Many religious groups are raising ethical questions regarding the issue. Divinity.
신, 신성,
Divinity. Early cultures saw a kind of divinity within Earth's natural processes. Enthrone.
왕자에 앉히다, 즉위시키다,
Enthrone. Zeus was the enthroned king of the ancient Greek gods. Theology.
신학 체계,
Theology. Several local priests studied theology at college. Exponent.
주창자, 옹호자,
Exponent. Saint Francis of Assisi was an exponent of respect for nature. Atheist.
무신론자,
Atheist. Bertrand Russell, the British philosopher and logician, was an atheist. Superficial.
피상적인, 표면적인,
Superficial. The politician showed a superficial understanding of the religious conflict. Renounce.
직책, 신조 등을 포기하다, 버리다,
Renounce. Priests must renounce the temptations of materialism. Eternity.
영원, 무한함,
Eternity. Some religions teach that we possess souls that live on for eternity. Pilgrim.
순례자,
Pilgrim. Over 10,000 pilgrims participated in last year's march to the temple. Puritan.
청교도, 청교도에.
Puritan. The Puritans who first settled America led very disciplined lives. Tolerance.
관용, 내성.
Tolerance. Tolerance is an important value no matter which religion you belong to. Confess.
고백하다, 인정하다.
Confess. Catholics are expected to regularly confess their sins to a priest. Philosopher.
철학자.
Philosopher. Plato was one of the most influential philosophers who ever lived. Vocation.
천직, 소명의식.
Vocation. Buddhist monks often choose their vocation at a young age. Stipend.
성직자의 급료.
Stipend. Religious personnel receive a monthly stipend to cover living expenses. Abstract.
추상적인, 논문, 초록.
Abstract. Many people see God as an abstract rather than real concept. Consult.
조언을 구하다, 상담하다.
Consult. The man consulted his priest for advice on what to do. Metaphysics.
형이상학.
Metaphysics. The study of metaphysics includes theories about how the universe is ordered. Profane.
불경한, 신성 모독에.
Profane. The man's profane remark about Jesus offended all the Christians in the audience. Purify.
정화하다, 깨끗이 하다.
Purify. Meditation and fasting are thought by some to purify the soul. Prophet.
선지자, 예언자.
Prophet. Muhammad is the supreme prophet in the religion of Islam. Phase 2. Will.
의지.
The philosopher said that the idea of free will is an illusion. Will.
유서.
He has already made a will with his lawyer. Seal.
봉하다, 봉인하다.
Workers sealed the old well with concrete. Seal.
증인, 증표.
The king used his official seal to sign the letter. Seal.
물개.
Zoo visitors voted the brown seal as their favorite animal. Commitment.
약속, 서약.
Once you make a promise, you should honor your commitment. Commitment.
열의, 헌신.
The carpenter performed his work on the house with obvious commitment. Commitment.
의무, 책무.
The government has a commitment to protect the lives of citizens. Phase 3. Be in seventh heaven.
천국에 있는 기분이다.
Be in seventh heaven. When Amy got a puppy on her birthday, she was in seventh heaven. When hell freezes over.
해가 서쪽에서 뜨면.
When hell freezes over. She will return when hell freezes over. Practice what you preach.
언행을 일치시키다.
Practice what you preach. He often talks of kindness, but he does not practice what he preaches. Speak of the devil.
호랑이도 제 말하면 온다.
Speak of the devil. We complained about John being late, and speak of the devil, he arrived. Play devil's advocate.
토론 등에서 일부러 악역을 맡다.
Play devil's advocate. Professor Wilson enjoys playing devil's advocate during his students' discussions. Phase 4. Come after somebody.
누구를 뒤쫓다.
Come after somebody. Veterans of the war worry someone will come after them for revenge. Take after somebody.
가족을 닮다.
Take after somebody. At 7 feet tall, Rashid takes after his father, the basketball star. Run after somebody, something.
무엇을 뒤쫓아가다.
Run after somebody, something. I ran after my dog as it raced down the street. Go after somebody, something.
무엇을 잡다.
Go after somebody, something. Carl's father advised him to go after the open position in sales. Look after somebody, something.
무엇을 돌보다.
Look after somebody, something. PET will look after your pet while you're away. Name A after B.
B의 이름을 따서 A의 이름을 짓다.
Name A after B. The new university building is named after a major donor. Phase 5. Get a grade.
성적을 받다.
Get a grade. Stephen's daughter got an excellent grade in her physics class. Get a haircut.
머리를 깎다.
Get a haircut. Mr. Reynolds left the office an hour ago to get a haircut. Get a grip.
정신 차리다.
Get a grip. The clerk was offended when the customer told her to get a grip. Get the door.
문을 열어주다. 문을 닫아주다.
Get the door. She always gets the door for her disabled neighbor, Miss Cook. Get the point.
이해하다.
Get the point. None of the students got the point of the professor's lecture. Get the gist.
요점을 파악하다.
Get the gist. The man got the gist of his wife's argument without hearing the details. Get back to normal.
정상으로 돌아오다.
Get back to normal. It will take several years for the economy to get back to normal.
Day 3. Phase 1. Shift.
변화, 근무조, 이동하다.
Shift. The shift in population from rural to urban occurred generations ago. Desolate.
황량한, 쓸쓸하게 하다.
Desolate. The desert appears desolate, but many species make their homes here. Diverse.
다양한, 서로 다른.
Diverse. Plant life in this region of the jungle is particularly diverse. Longevity.
장수.
Longevity. Inhabitants of northern Pakistan attribute their longevity to good food. Groundwater.
지하수.
Groundwater. Groundwater in the Albis Valley is pure enough to drink. Canal.
운하, 수로.
Canal. Goods were shipped along canals prior to the invention of railroads. Continent.
대륙.
Continent. Australia is not only a country but also a continent. Disseminate.
전파하다, 알리다.
Disseminate. The Internet is being used to disseminate information about local tourist attractions. Exotic.
외래의, 이국적인.
Exotic. More and more exotic species are threatening the ecosystem in this region. Conventional.
관습적인, 전통적인.
Conventional. In the 16th century, conventional wisdom held that the sun orbited the earth. Patriarchy.
부권사회, 가부장제.
Patriarchy. Early societies were not always set up as patriarchies. Sometimes women ruled. Erupt.
화산이 분화하다, 용암 등을 분출시키다.
Erupt. The volcano last erupted over 10 million years ago. Ethnic.
민족의.
Ethnic. People inhabiting this area belong to various ethnic groups. Latitude.
위도, 위도상의 지역.
Latitude. At this latitude, the sun shines for 24 hours during the summer. Border.
경계, 접하다.
Border. The Ural Mountains form a natural border between Europe and Asia. Landslide.
산사태, 선거의 압도적인 승리.
Landslide. The week-long rains resulted in landslides on the mountain slopes. Lore.
구전, 지식, 이야기.
Lore. Sailor's lore says that the albatross is a sign of a storm. Rite.
종교적 의식, 의례.
Rite. The ceremony was an important rite of passage for some Native Americans. Privilege.
특권, 특권을 주다.
Privilege. In some cultures, marriage was a privilege, not a right. Meander.
강 등이 굽이치다, 구불구불 이어지다.
Meander. The stream continues to meander westward until it meets the river. Custom.
관습, 풍습.
Custom. Make sure to follow local customs when traveling to new places. Anthropology.
인류학.
Anthropology. The history of the area's anthropology started with the hunters and gatherers. Filial.
자식의, 자식으로부터의.
Filial. Members of this culture stress the importance of filial duty. Tribe.
부족, 집단.
Tribe. Germanic peoples were made up of many different tribes. Plain.
평원, 명료한.
Plain. America's Great Plains region stretches from Oklahoma to North Dakota. Proliferate.
급증하다, 증식하다.
Proliferate. The species proliferated rapidly, killing off its local counterpart. Retain.
보유하다, 간직하다.
Retain. The ancient rock face has retained many fossils of marine organisms. Sediment.
퇴적물, 침전물.
Sediment. Sediment deposited by the river eventually compacted to form new stone. Endemic.
지역, 고유의, 고질적인.
Endemic. Unfortunately, the potato virus has become something of an endemic problem. Irrigate.
관계하다, 물을 대다.
Irrigate. Due to the dry climate, farmers must heavily irrigate their fields. Tropical.
열대에, 열대 지방에.
Tropical. The tropical zone is almost completely covered by rainforests. Construe.
이해하다, 해석하다.
Construe. Local customs should be construed from a viewpoint of diversity. Province.
지역, 학문 등의 분야.
Province. Traditionally, the remote province was governed almost as a separate country. Legacy.
유산.
Legacy. The legacy of the tribe's ancestors remains in their dialect. Astrology.
점성술.
Astrology. Astrology involves the interpretation of the positions of stars and planets. Superstition.
미신.
Superstition. The tribesmen have yet to adopt science. They live instead by superstition. Cherish.
소중히 여기다, 간직하다.
Cherish. The county's natural beauty is something all residents should cherish. Extend.
확장하다, 연장하다, 이어지다.
Extend. The ridge extends for 40 miles, connecting with the distant mountains. Archipelago.
다도해, 군도.
Archipelago. The Philippines is an archipelago made up of about 7,000 islands. Absorb.
흡수하다, 받아들이다.
Absorb. The soil in this region absorbs rainfall very quickly. Phase 2. Culture.
문화.
Austin, with its many galleries and concert halls, has a lot of culture. Culture.
재배, 배양균.
The active culture present in yogurt can help with digestion. Fair.
공정한.
All citizens are entitled to fair treatment under the law. Fair.
날씨가 맑은.
We expect some rain tonight, but conditions tomorrow will be fair. Fair.
품평회, 박람회.
The county fair will be held this weekend at the convention center. Allowance.
가만.
Investors must make allowance for potential fluctuations in the market. Allowance.
용돈.
He taught his children financial responsibility by giving them an allowance. Phase 3. It's all Greek to me.
무슨 말인지 하나도 모르다.
It's all Greek to me. The scientists explained the equation, but it was all Greek to me. Play Russian roulette with.
목숨을 건 도박을 하다.
Play Russian roulette with. Handling dangerous explosives is like playing Russian roulette. When in Rome, do as Romans do.
로마에 가면 로마법을 따르라.
When in Rome, do as Romans do. I don't like foreign food, but when in Rome, we must do as Romans do. Fiddle while Rome burns.
강 건너 불구경을 하다.
Fiddle while Rome burns. The Wall Street executives were fiddling while Rome burned. Go Dutch.
돈을 각자 내다.
Go Dutch. Mark paid for the drinks at Gibson's, but at dinner we went Dutch. Phase 4. Come apart.
뜯어지다, 터지다.
Come apart. The blue jeans are so old that the seams are coming apart. Fall apart.
부서지다, 망가지다.
Fall apart. Case Electronics products have a reputation for falling apart easily. Drift apart.
사이가 멀어지다.
Drift apart. Janice and Jane had drifted apart over the years. Take something apart.
무엇을 분해하다, 해체하다.
Take apart something. The mechanic had to take apart the engine in order to fix it. Blow something apart.
무엇을 폭파하다.
Blow apart something. The building was blown apart by a terrorist bomb. Tell somebody something apart.
누구를 구별하다.
Tell apart somebody something. The twins were identical. No one could tell them apart. Set somebody something apart.
누구를 구별시키다, 차별화하다.
Set apart somebody something. Our intellectual ability sets us apart from other animals. Phase 5. Take office.
취임하다.
Take office. President Obama officially took office on January 20th, 2009. Take priority.
우선권을 갖다.
Take priority. The economy always takes political priority over cultural issues. Take notes.
필기하다.
Take notes. Students increasingly utilize electronic devices to take notes in class. Take a pill.
알약을 먹다.
Take a pill. The doctor instructed the patient to take one pill every 4 hours. Take a break.
휴식을 취하다.
Take a break. They were forced to work 10 straight hours without taking a break. Take an example.
예를 들다.
Take an example. Professor Goodwin took an example from history to prove her point. Take the initiative.
주도권을 잡다.
Take the initiative. If you want a promotion, you have to learn to take the initiative.
Day 4. Phase 1. Shortcoming.
결점, 단점.
Shortcoming. Shortcomings in grammar can be balanced by the knowledge of vocabulary. Dialect.
방언, 사투리.
Dialect. There are dozens of recognized dialects of English in the U.S. Linguistic.
언어학계.
Linguistic. The State Department is looking for linguistic experts to place overseas. Intermediate.
중급 수준의 중급자.
Intermediate. Our intermediate level classes are usually the first to fill up. Mentor.
조언자 역할을 하다. 조언자.
Mentor. Professor Sire offered to mentor Daisy in her study of the rainforests. Discipline.
훈련, 훈육하다.
Discipline. It takes discipline to achieve fluency in a second language. Advocate.
지지하다, 지지자.
Advocate. Mrs. Timmons is advocating a change in the length of the school day. Interact.
소통하다, 상호작용하다.
Interact. Jacob knew just enough Spanish to be able to interact with the locals. Semantics.
의미론.
Semantics. The semantics of the word has changed over time. Pedagogic.
교육하게, 교수법에.
Pedagogic. Our instructors are experts in pedagogic strategies and skills. Imitation.
모방, 모조품.
Imitation. Imitation is one of the important mechanisms in the acquisition of language. Institute.
제도 등을 시작하다, 기관.
Institute. The university will institute a foreign language course requirement for all students. Coherent.
생각 등이 일관적인, 조리 있는.
Coherent. David's piece of writing is well organized and coherent in meaning. Cognitive.
인지에, 인식에.
Cognitive. Young students are assigned to classes based on their cognitive development. Inherit.
유산 등을 상속하다, 성질 등을 물려받다.
Inherit. Dr. Mitchell inherited an ear for languages from his mother. Foster.
증진하다, 육성하다.
Foster. Study abroad programs foster a deep understanding of global issues. Rudimentary.
기본적인, 기초적인.
Rudimentary. Even rudimentary instruction is useless unless students are engaged in the topic. Criterion.
판단의 기준, 척도.
Criterion. College acceptance should not be based solely on one academic criterion. Objective.
목적, 객관적인.
Objective. The objective of this course is to share knowledge about Pakistan's culture. Scholastic.
학업에, 학교에.
Scholastic. 40 students from around the nation attended the Scholastic competition. Potential.
잠재력, 가능성 있는.
Potential. Simon has the potential to be a great educator one day. Imperative.
긴급한, 필수적인 일.
Imperative. It is imperative that each student meet with his or her advisor before graduation. Phonology.
의문론, 의문체계.
Phonology. The phonology of Spanish is simple. You say what you see. Juvenile.
청소년의, 청소년.
Juvenile. The advanced grammar book was never intended for juvenile readers. Archaic.
고대의, 구식인.
Archaic. Memorization drills and handwriting exercises are seen as archaic by some. Prestigious.
인류의, 명성이 높은.
Prestigious. J&M Language Academy is the most prestigious school of its kind. Prefer.
선호하다, 더 좋아하다.
Prefer. Batista prefers to speak his native language over English at home. Original.
최초의, 원본.
Original. Very little is known about the original speakers of ancient Egyptian. Prodigy.
영재, 신동.
Prodigy. A prodigy, Jim Stevens graduated college when he was just 14. Mainstream.
주류의 대세.
Mainstream. Mainstream spoken English contains more grammatical errors than most people realize. Confront.
어려움 등에 직면하다, 맞서다.
Confront. Any dedicated person can confront and conquer the challenges of language learning. Endeavor.
노력, 노력하다.
Endeavor. Mastering the grammar of any language is a difficult endeavor. Simplistic.
매우 단순한, 단순화된.
Simplistic. The teacher's explanation, though simplistic, satisfied the students. Enhance.
높이다, 향상시키다.
Enhance. Real-world practice enhances the study of a foreign language. Lexicon.
어휘, 어휘 목록.
Lexicon. Normally, the number of function words is fixed in the lexicon of a language. Denotation.
외연, 명시적 의미.
Denotation. The traditional denotation of the word is very different from its slang usage. Certificate.
증명서, 증명서를 주다.
Certificate. Graduates of the course will receive a certificate of completion. Secondary.
부수적인, 중등 교육에.
Secondary. Only 77% of American students completed their secondary education in 2008. Facilitate.
가능하게 하다, 쉽게 만들다.
Facilitate. Portable devices can help facilitate language learning. Inculcate.
생각 등을 주입하다, 심어주다.
Inculcate. Pronunciation of tricky words is best inculcated through daily practice. Phase 2. Degree.
정도.
The missile guidance system needs a high degree of accuracy. Degree.
학위.
Graduates of the program received a bachelor's degree in social work. Degree.
도.
The city's record high summer temperature was 108 degrees Fahrenheit. Term.
용어.
Jane confessed that she did not know the meaning of the technical term. Term.
기간.
Employees must complete a 30-day training term before being hired full-time. Term.
조건.
Both parties must review the terms of the contract before signing. Direct.
향하게 하다.
The satellite signal was directed towards the on-ground receiving station. Direct.
감독하다.
Michael Toms has directed several Hollywood blockbusters in his career. Direct.
직행해.
The family booked a direct flight from Miami to the south of Spain. Phase 3. On the tip of one's tongue.
혀끝에 맴도는.
On the tip of one's tongue. The student couldn't remember the word, though it was on the tip of his tongue. You can't teach an old dog new tricks.
늙은 개한테는 새로운 재주를 가르칠 수 없다.
You can't teach an old dog new tricks. My grandfather said, you can't teach an old dog new tricks. A slip of the tongue.
말 실수.
A slip of the tongue. Through a slip of the tongue, the criminal confessed to the crime. Teacher's pet.
애제자.
Teacher's pet. Molly is a teacher's pet, always the first to raise her hand. Teach A a lesson.
A에게 따끔한 맛을 보여주다.
Teach A a lesson. Stuart decided to teach his nosy younger brother a lesson. Face 4. Stand aside.
한쪽으로 비켜서다.
Stand aside. The people stood aside to allow him to pass. Step aside.
공직 등에서 물러나다.
Step aside. The senator had to step aside because of the scandal. Set aside.
따로 보관하다.
Set aside. You should keep some money set aside for emergencies. Lay something aside.
무엇을 한쪽에 두다.
Lay aside something. Dr. Yi laid aside the papers and started a new project. Cast something aside.
무엇을 버리다.
Cast aside something. Carolyn cast her anger aside and focused her attention on driving. Push something aside.
무엇을 버리다. 피하다.
Push aside something. He pushed his doubts aside and signed the contract. Sweep something aside.
무엇을 무시하다.
Sweep aside something. She swept aside our objections and finished her work. Face 5. Make a mess.
엉망으로 만들다.
Make a mess. The meal was delicious, but the cook made a mess in the kitchen. Make a fortune.
큰 돈을 벌다.
Make a fortune. The investor made a fortune buying and selling technology stocks. Make a commitment.
약속하다.
Make a commitment. Tom and Mindy made a commitment to volunteer with the charity. Make a distinction.
구별하다.
Make a distinction. It is important to make a distinction between wants and needs. Make a gesture.
손짓하다. 몸짓하다.
Make a gesture. The diner made a gesture to the waitress to request more iced tea. Make a modification.
변경하다.
Make a modification. The warranty will be voided if you make a modification to the product. Make a breakthrough.
돌파구를 마련하다.
Make a breakthrough. Scientists made a breakthrough in the search for a cure for cancer.
Day 5. Face 1. Perform.
공연하다. 수행하다.
Perform. Singer and songwriter Janet Vasabaro performed her song One Love. Rendering.
연주. 연기.
Rendering. The actor's rendering of the role was perfect and impressive. Masterpiece.
걸작. 대작.
Masterpiece. As soon as Saeed finished the painting, he knew it was a masterpiece. Production.
생산. 제작.
Production. The production costs of Hollywood movies can be very large. Virtuoso.
거장,
Virtuoso. Tickets for the violin virtuoso's concert sold out immediately. Sublime.
숭고한, 최고의.
Sublime. Photographers try to capture the sublime beauty of a moment. Moving.
감동적인, 움직이는.
Moving. Despite her injury, the dancer gave the most moving performance of her life. Classic.
명작, 최고의.
Classic. The song's popularity ensured that it would become a classic. Depict.
그리다, 묘사하다.
Depict. Works in the film noir genre often depict gray urban settings. Sequence.
일련의 사건, 장면.
Sequence. In the flashback sequence, the actress recalled a childhood memory. Patronage.
후원, 지원.
Patronage. Local business owners have offered patronage to the struggling artists. Authentic.
진품인, 진짜인.
Authentic. Every work of art purchased at auction is guaranteed to be authentic. Pathos.
연민, 비애.
Pathos. The writer's arguments rely too much on pathos to persuade. Trailer.
영화 예고편.
Trailer. At 7 minutes, the film's trailer was a little long. Elaborate.
정교한, 설명하다.
Elaborate. The artist was pleased with his elaborate work. Magnum opus.
대표작.
Magnum opus. Ulysses is considered to be the magnum opus of James Joyce. Inspire.
자극하다, 영감을 주다.
Inspire. The director was inspired by the true story of his younger sister. Muse.
영감의 대상, 사색하다.
Muse. Douglas says his wife is the muse behind his best-selling novels. Perspective.
관점, 시각.
Perspective. The sculpture assumes different shapes depending on the perspective of the viewer. Devote.
바치다, 전념하다.
Devote. Guitarists must devote hours each day to practice in order to improve. Inventive.
독창적인, 창의적인.
Inventive. Mark is very inventive, using unusual materials in his art. Costume.
의상, 복장.
Costume. The costumes used in the play did not match the time period. Emerge.
모습을 드러내다, 알려지다.
Emerge. Sternbridge has emerged as the most popular band of the year. Award.
상, 수여하다.
Award. The Photographer of the Year award went to Al McPherson. Choir.
합창단, 성가대.
Choir. Many university choirs participated in the national competition. Presence.
존재, 풍모.
Presence. The singer has an onstage presence that is quite captivating. Pulsate.
진동하다, 활기 넘치다.
Pulsate. The dancer felt the beat of the music pulsate through his body. Copyright.
저작권, 판권.
Copyright. Illegal downloading violates the copyrights of musicians. Aesthetic.
미적 특징, 미학적인.
Aesthetic. The aesthetics of painting have changed drastically over the last century. Secular.
세속적인.
Secular. 17th century painters dealt more with religious than secular subject matter. Conductor.
지휘자, 기차의 차장.
Conductor. The audience clapped loudly as the conductor took the stage. Outpouring.
감정의 표현, 분출.
Outpouring. The singer's performance was followed by an outpouring of emotion. Evoke.
감정, 기억 등을 불러일으키다.
Evoke. The watercolor evokes emotions of peace and calmness. Facet.
양상, 측면.
Facet. An emphasis on conflict is just one facet of the director's films. Luminous.
선명한, 야광의.
Luminous. The work's luminous colors complement the color of the wall. Disparage.
가치, 업적 등을 깎아내리다, 헐뜯다.
Disparage. The critics disparaged the actor's performance, but the public loved it. Premiere.
개봉, 개봉하다.
Premiere. There were not enough seats at the film premiere for all the guests. Trigger.
반응을 유발하다, 방화쇠.
Trigger. When Sally saw the painting, it triggered thoughts of her daughter. Subtitle.
자막, 자막을 달다.
Subtitle. Subtitles can help audience members with impaired hearing understand movies. Portray.
묘사하다, 나타내다.
Portray. Having grown up poor, the painter often portrays poverty in his work. Phase 2. Fine.
가는, 가느다란.
The thread was so fine that it was easy to break. Fine.
미세한.
I noticed the fine distinction between the two contracts. Fine.
벌금.
Drivers found to be speeding have to pay a fine. Appreciate.
음미하다, 감상하다.
Wine connoisseurs will appreciate the rich flavors of this particular bottle. Appreciate.
고마워하다.
The Millers greatly appreciated Jimmy's help in fixing their car. Appreciate.
가치가 상승하다.
The building has appreciated at a steady rate. Sound.
소리.
A loud sound woke the couple up in the middle of the night. Sound.
소리를 내게 하다, 울리다.
You can sound the alarm by pressing the button. Sound.
무엇인 것 같다.
It sounded as if they had a great time on vacation. Sound.
건강한, 건전한.
The judge determined that the criminal was of sound mind. Phase 3. Swan Song.
마지막 작품, 마지막 공연.
Swan Song. Friday night's concert will be Bermicelli's Swan Song. He retires on Saturday. Play it by ear.
그때그때 상황에 따라 처신하다.
Play it by ear. It depends on how the situation develops, so we will play it by ear. Face the music.
잘못을 받아들이다.
Face the music. After years of corrupt governing, it was time for the politician to face the music. Be music to A's ears.
음악처럼 들리다. 좋은 소식이다.
Be music to A's ears. The sound of the cash register was music to the shop owner's ears. The big picture.
큰 그림.
The big picture. Employees were urged to forget the details and focus on the big picture. Phase 4. Ask around.
여기저기에 물어보다.
Ask around. Make sure to ask around before hiring a contractor to do the work. Get around.
여기저기를 돌아다니다.
Get around. When he was younger, Billy used his bicycle to get around. Shop around.
물건을 사러 여기저기 돌아다니다.
Shop around. If you shop around, you will find a better price. Run around.
정신없이 돌아다니다.
Run around. They are running around to clean the office. Come around.
마음을 돌리다.
Come around. Michelle was against the proposal at first, but she came around. Sit around.
빈둥거리다.
Sit around. Don't just sit around. Get out there and look for a job. Hang around something.
어디에서 배회하다.
Hang around something. They spent a lot of time hanging around the mall. Phase 5. Do wonders.
큰 효과가 있다.
Do wonders. The town's clean air did wonders for the tuberculosis patients. Do the dishes.
설거지를 하다.
Do the dishes. Please do the dishes after you clear the table. Do the laundry.
세탁을 하다.
Do the laundry. While he was doing the laundry, his wife was preparing the meal. Do the chores.
집안일을 하다.
Do the chores. You may not play outside until you do the chores. Do one's utmost.
최선을 다하다.
Do one's utmost. At Summers Motors, we do our utmost to find the right car for you. Do A favor.
A의 부탁을 들어주다.
Do A favor. Elizabeth did Carl a favor by dropping off his books. Do more harm than good.
득보다 실이 많다.
Do more harm than good. Mr. Baker is concerned replacing the roof will do more harm than good.